Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular meeting of Fernie City Council, held at 6 p.m. on August 22nd, 2023. Firstly, we acknowledge that the city of Fernie is located within Kukanamakas, the unceded territory of the Yakutat and Tla'amin. We recognize that we live and work within their vast lands. Akanahunik are from Yakutat and Tla'amin and are members of the Ktunaxa-speaking peoples of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. This meeting is being conducted by in-person and electronic means in accordance with Council Procedure Bylaw number 2446. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for the following recommendation: that if the communication link to the specified place for this meeting is interrupted and cannot be restored within 15 minutes, the meeting shall adjourn and reconvene to the soonest possible time that quorum can be achieved and public notice requirements met. Mover, Councillor Artie Kelly, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous, thank you. I'll ask a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda and any late items. Oh, and then, sorry, and I need to ask for a mover and a seconder that the agenda be amended to include late item 10.2 Provincial Police Service Agreement, Ministry of Public Safety, and that the agenda be adopted as amended. Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Schussman. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. I know, like the public wishing to participate in attendance or participating electronically, who wish to comment on items listed on the meeting agenda in accordance with section 3.7.3 of the procedure bylaw to address council, except speakers must not address council regarding a matter for which a public hearing must be held or has been held pursuant to the Government Act prior to council's consideration of the matter or adoption of the bylaw. Speakers must not address council regarding a permit for which public notice must be given or has been given pursuant to the local Government Act prior to council's consideration of issuance of the permit, and a speaker may only address council for a maximum of 3 minutes. And I'll ask Ms. Rhodes if there's anybody at the specified place or online who's indicated a desire to speak.
No, Your Worship.
Thank you, Ms. Rhodes. And we'll now move to item 6, consideration of bylaws and issuance of permits arising for public hearings or public notice periods. And we begin with 6.1, a presentation by our Manager of Planning, Mr. Simone.
Thank you, Your Worship. Please speak it. So tonight we're looking at development variance permit number 556 for 1102 3rd Avenue. Previously, council had approved the application to move forward. It's a zoning bylaw variance to legalize the siting of an existing home on the property. The variance asks for the front yard setback to go from 3.0 meters to 0.55 meters, the side yard setback to go from 1.5 meters to 0 meters, and the overall parcel coverage to go from 35% to 41.6%. As I noted in the last council meeting, these numbers are a little bit deceiving. The 3.0 to 0.55 is to accommodate for the new property line that will go in with a related subdivision, and the house sits 0.55 meters right now from the side property line along the street, and that will become the front property line once the property is subdivided. And again, as noted in the last council meeting, this is to legalize the existing house only, so any additions or anything along those lines would require a second variance. So our rationale is that there is minimal neighborhood impact. It is an existing non-conforming structure, so again, there's nothing that's going to further that non-conformance. And again, this application is part of a proposed subdivision. So our recommendation tonight is that council authorize the issuance of the development variance permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Simone? I'll ask Mr. McCall to read the recommendation then.
Certainly. The recommendation is that council authorize the issuance of development variance permit number DVP 556 for 1102 3rd Avenue.
Moved by Councillor Schussman, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you. And then item 8.1, zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw number 2497/2023, report from Mr. Singleton. Councillor Artie Kelly.
I'm going to recuse myself from this discussion that I'm getting.
Didn't you just state your reasons?
Yeah, sure.
So,
Councillor Artie
Yes,
Kelly, could you state your reasons why you're recusing yourself?
I am related to the requester.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Your Worship. This is bylaw 2497 to rezone 130 Ridgemont Crescent from R1 to R1B. This is the first R1B rezoning we've seen in the Ridgemont neighborhood. That being said, the properties across the street in the Silver Ridge subdivision are all zoned R1B. So they were zoned R1B at time of subdivision, time of development. But this is the first application we've seen for the, call it, old area of Ridgemont for an R1B rezoning. So it is to rezone from R1, which is single family residential, to R1B, which is single detached plus residential. This would allow for the construction of a secondary dwelling unit in the backyard of the property. This application is consistent with the OCP and affordable housing strategies. Therefore, we are recommending that the application move forward tonight. And our recommendations are that council approve the application and give the bylaw first and second readings. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Singleton? Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just regarding not about the actual application, it's just that engineering public works general development referral response guide. Is that new? Is that part of the? Just curious.
Yeah, Your Worship, and Director Hausler may want to comment on this briefly, but what it was just sort of all of our referrals that we send to the engineering department and other city departments was this sort of response guide that was put together so that it's more of a quick reference for us so that we don't have to send out a referral every single time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a sort of common rezoning, common variance. So it's just an effort to save on some capacity.
It's just I've just never seen this document before.
Yeah, if council would like to view it, we could bring it forward at a committee of the whole meeting to review. It's just basically a quick reference guide that we just kind of go through and make sure that there's nothing that stands out. If there is anything that stands out, we have those further discussions with that department.
And I guess my main concern about it is the fact that in the one part it says, due to shallow utilities not meeting current frost depths in older neighborhoods, and you just on and on and on. And but that's not 100% true all the time. Just the people in the community might read that and go, well, looks like I can't do it because it's telling me.
Mr. Heisen.
Yeah, through Mayor Milligan's council, you're absolutely right. It's a general guideline book, not a every case book.
Yeah, and just sorry, I'm just thinking, as normal. Sorry. Just as a general guideline, if this is a front-facing document to our community, it might need a date on it, and it should have these are not applicable for all cases. Sort of thing.
A disclaimer of some sort.
Yeah, a disclaimer.
Yeah, Your Worship, through to Councilor Nixon, it has been an internal document, and the fact that it's referenced in this staff report, maybe it should be made public, but it would need to be put together as more of a public-facing document. Like right now, it's just an internal checklist that we just go through. So I mean, it could just as well have acted as the engineering or operations department's referral response, and it could have said that we did want to refer just to show that that's how we are looking at them now. Yeah, and I think a really good example is like this application in particular. Both sides of the road where services come in are paved roads, so the freezing water lines, for example, in that situation aren't as much of a concern as with a lane in the annex, for example, that might get driven on without pavement and drive frost down into the water line and freeze it. So that's an example of the case-by-case sort of basis that we get.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nixon. Any other questions? I have one, like Councilor Nixon, supportive of the direction, but given this lot's proximity to St. Margaret's Cemetery and the boundary of St. Margaret's Cemetery and some of the issues that have arisen in the region in the area with unmarked graves, I'm confident that it's outside the bounds and there will be no complication with with the cemetery?
Your worship, it's a great question. That this property is already developed. There's actually a garage sitting on the same spot of where the proposed garage is going to be, so it'd be a potential redo or a tear down of the existing garage and rebuild. That being said, I can't say with confidence that there's nothing there. I would have to look into that and get back to council. Given that this does have to come back to council for third reading and potential adoption, we can look into that and get some more information for you.
Thank you. To your point, it has been developed already. So the chances are probably infinitesimally small, but I just wanted to flag it because issues have arisen in the area before.
Yeah, no, it's a great point to bring up.
Thank you. Anything else? With that, I'll ask Mr. Gonzalez to read the recommendations.
Certainly, the first recommendation is that council approve the application to amend the zoning bylaw number 1750 by rezoning 130 Ridgemont Crescent from R1 single family residential to R1B single detached plus residential.
Moved by Councilor Shoesmith, seconded by Councilor Nixon. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous.
And that zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw number 2497, be 2023, be given first and second readings.
Moved by Councilor Hamilton, seconded by Councilor Nixon. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you. That's unanimous. Once again, Mr. Simulini, item 9.1, development variance permit application. I'm not going to read the number, but I'll hand it over to you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is development variance permit number 562 for 991 7th Avenue. So what we're seeing here is the individual has purchased the property. Sitting on the front of the property is a house that was previously used as a business with a large garage in the backyard, which is also used as part of that business. What the new owner would like to do is have a staff housing contingent on the front of the house for their business, and then run their business out of the garage. So what they're asking for tonight is that the variance waive the sections of the zoning bylaw that make it so that a dwelling unit in the C highway zone needs to be either in front of or behind the business, or that the dwelling unit be part of the same building that the business is in. So essentially what they want to do is convert the old house that was a business back into a house, use it for staff employee housing, and then again, have their business conduct out of the garage. So they're not changing any uses, any permitted uses. It's important to note that we can't vary use, but these are two permitted uses within our zoning bylaw. So one is accessory to the other, but they're still conducting those two uses. They're still legal. So we're not varying the use. We're just varying the way in which those uses can occur on that lot. So again, so the bylaw variance is to allow the dwelling unit to not be designed as an integral part of the as an integral part of the business, and to allow the dwelling unit to be in front of the business itself. So our rationale here again is that we're adding employee housing, which is important. It's maintaining the current streetscape, it's not changing, and the dwelling units there are dwelling units along that highway strip that are also adjacent to the property. So there is a little bit of that use that's already in that neighborhood. And our recommendation tonight is that council approve the development variance permit application.
Thank you, Mr. Simulini. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll ask you to move the recommendation.
Certainly, that recommendation is that council approve development variance permit application number DVPA 562 and give notice of their intention to consider the issuance of development variance permit number DVP 562 for 991 7th Avenue.
Moved by Councilor Hamilton, seconded by Councilor Shoesmith. Any further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Simulini. then?
Worship, I will be heading home to my family now.
You did give us a heads up, thank you. Item 9.2, our youth council representative policy, a report from our deputy clerk. Daniel.
Thank you. Well, tonight I'm going to be reviewing the proposed youth council program policy and answer any questions council may have. So this program So this program started in 2018 when council directed staff to create a youth counselor position for local area students. The policy that was adopted to guide this program came in April 2019, and in the fall of 2019, we had our first youth counselor, Ashlyn Dressler. Since its beginnings 4 years ago, interest in the program has declined significantly with local youth, with only one application being received in 2022. Staff believe this is due to a lack of awareness of the program, as well as the vague description currently contained in the program's policy. This role is a substantial time commitment, and without clarity on the expectations and benefits of the program, it's not really an attractive volunteer opportunity for students. However, we believe that in updating our policy, we can easily address many of these issues and support the success of the program. So.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Worship.
Yes.
I'm curious why it's believed that those are the shortcomings. Were there interviews with previous youth counselors or youth that indicated that those were the shortfalls for the program? Is the timing and communication or vagueness of the description?
So the vagueness of the description has been hard when, say, our most recent youth counselor, I brought in to speak to her and she asked what's expected of you in the program. We went through the policy, it's very vague. I will get to the point where I go through, if they don't really understand the expectations for the role. Are they meant to attend all council meetings? Are they meant to go to city events? When a student looks at a volunteer opportunity, generally they want to know what the time commitment is, what the benefit to them is, what they're going to learn, what they may get to do. And so in the policy we currently have, there are only 3 points which outline the program. The remainder of the policy is mostly stating what they can do and cannot do in a council meeting, as well as the interview requirements. So we're just hoping to beef that up a little bit. But no, we have not consulted our past 4 youth counselors. This is just observations of the program over the last 4 years by staff.
Thank you.
Oh, and discussions with the Fernie Youth Action Network. We have done some consulting. Their recommendation was to beef it up.
Excellent. Thank you.
So the first improvement we would like to make to the policy is by removing program deadlines. So current policy requires us to have the role appointed by September 30th. September is a very busy month for students. There's many competing opportunities and events. And originally, we believe these deadlines were selected so that the youth counselor could attend the first regular council meeting in October, but that's not really necessary for success of this program. Staff would like to remove this specific appointment date and instead put in a requirement that the youth counselor be appointed no later than October each year. Staff fully intend to continue to advertise the position starting in early September, but there would no longer be a rush to meet this deadline, which really has no impact. We're working with the schools and also with the Fernie Youth Action Network and the smaller groups that they have in order to go advertise the opportunity, gather feedback from students saying, hey, you're advertising in the wrong spaces, or hey, this is really of interest, highlight this more, so we can know where potentially our shortcomings are as adults who may not view these things the same as students, as well as respect the hectic schedule of back to school when scheduling interviews. In past experience being part of those interviews, it's very difficult for a student to apply. 3 days later, we call and say, can you come tomorrow? They're quite busy during that month. This would allow us just a little bit more time in order to schedule and complete those interviews. So, as you can see up on the screen, potential new advertisement. Prior to this, we have only advertised in the newspaper, which many Fernie youth, I'm sure, read, but not quite a lot. So we're hopefully going to update our advertising as well, and going to where the students are, not expecting them to search for us. Now, the most important change to this policy is defining the roles, responsibilities, and the expectations. So right here up on the screen, currently, there are 3 expectations for this role. To bring a youth perspective to council matters and discussions. They're encouraged to attend the BC Youth Parliament and associated workshops, and also that they're willing and able to attend council meetings as scheduled. That is not very clear on what that means, and in fact, in the policy, it says it will be discussed during the interview, but gives no more qualifications for that. So instead, we are hoping to change it to say, the youth counselor responsible for bringing a youth perspective to council matters and discussions, encouraged to attend the BC Youth Parliament Conference, and if attended, provide a short report to council, either verbal during a council meeting if they feel comfortable, or perhaps a short written report for council to see. Complete a minimum of 30 participation hours, so this could be council meetings, city events, if they attend student council meetings at the different schools to hear their issues and bring back feedback to council. To have the youth counselor sign the council code of conduct as a participating member in council meetings, as well as it will be their responsibility to engage with local youth to learn about the important issues for the demographic and raise awareness of city operations and activities amongst their peer. The local skate park, when we were collecting feedback, is a great example of that. We were having open workhouses where the youth actually had an opportunity to come and provide their feedback on what they wanted to see. And if you will hold on one moment, I will just find where I am in my presentation. So in having a minimum number of participation hours in our new policy, what we're doing is really clarifying our expectations for time from this student. So under the existing policy, as I've noted before, there are no clear requirements. And in fact, if you read it, just kind of very strict, like they'll attend all council meetings as scheduled. If we estimated each council meeting in a month to be 2 hours, there are 3, that would be 52 hours across their term, which is quite a significant commitment. Also, council meetings do take place on school evenings. We take place during heavy exam periods, so that's a lot for a student to juggle in addition to their academic work and if they're participating in any other extracurricular activities. By having the 30-hour mark, they can choose to schedule their attendance at council meetings perhaps during less busy academic periods, and they can also benefit from knowing they can make up that time by attending, say, our budget open house and see how do we interact with the public when we're explaining what we're spending our money on. They can gain exposure to different aspects of the council experience. The next section of our policy that we would like to do is to formalize the travel costs for the youth counselor to attend BC Youth Parliament. So this would be $1,255 for mileage, meals, and the program application cost. The flights and hotels is all covered by BC Youth Parliament. So the current policy is vague on the city's ability to cover these costs. However, we've covered these travel expenses for our last 4 youth counselors, so we would just like to make sure it is confirmed in the policy. I did attach a descriptor of what the BC Youth Parliament session is like. So it occurs in December. They get to be in the legislative building and to practice parliamentary procedures, meet with youth from all across the province. It's an extraordinary program, and it's a very unique experience for students, teaching them public speaking, parliamentarism, debate, and leadership. It's all youth run, based on the values of service and education and collaboration, and it really provides youth the opportunity to learn about the tools and processes that can foster significant changes in their communities, and they can take these skills into their adult lives. Now, all 4 of our youth counselors have spoken very highly of the program, and in fact, all of them have continued on in their work with this program as they have gone on into post-secondary. So really beneficial. And then lastly, the change to the policy would be to add a scholarship component to the program. So the District of Elford, they are the pioneer of the Youth Counselor program in the Elk Valley, and they too have recently updated their program, including a $1,000 scholarship for each of the positions. They have both a senior youth counselor and a junior youth counselor. So I'm just going to pause for a moment while the train goes by. Okay, I think it stopped honking for a moment.
Nice try.
There's always one more.
I know. All right, I'll be very loud. So our city already provides $3,000 in scholarships to the Fernie Senior Secondary as well as to the Fernie Academy, because our city, many years ago, council decided that we value supporting local youth in their pursuit of post-secondary education. We believe that adding a scholarship to our own youth counselor program will incentivize students to apply, as well as recognize the significant time commitment. It's in the newspapers almost every week how much post-secondary education costs, and the student will be spending time here with us, learning and contributing to the work that we do in lieu of, say, working a part-time job during those hours in order to support their post-secondary. So I think it would be a nice component to add to the policy. And I will finish by saying this program is important, and it provides a meaningful opportunity for local youth to participate in the governance of their community and learn how local government affects their everyday life. And case in point, I have kept in contact with our first youth counselor, Ashlyn Dressler, most recently to connect her with professional colleagues I have in the Lower Mainland for her to interview. And she has now decided to move forward with a master's degree in urban engineering and planning as a potential career path. And she noted the reason for this being that, and she said I could quote her, "I really enjoyed my work with the city as a youth counselor and think this would be really cool to participate in public service from an engineering perspective." She, in talking with her further, has let me know that her time here showed her how she can make an impactful change in her community, how the effects of local government are in everybody's daily life, and then she wants to make an impact there, so she's going to be a government person like us. So if council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Ms. Daniel. Councilor Annika.
Premier Milligan to Ms. Daniel. The 1255, Ms. Daniel, it's under the travel and expense policy, so will that like increase as that policy increases just to account for costs going up, inflation, that kind of thing?
It absolutely will. So it's not firmly entrenched in that one number. As our travel and expense policy changes, we will also increase the amount of money provided to them.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Nixon.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, this is, I think it's a great program, and that, your little, Ms. Daniel, your speech gave me a little tear in my eye about Ashland, and it was really awesome. I did feel for some of them in here, you know, I mean, I think the 1 year, 17 hours of budget meetings, and what was her name? She sat through them for most of them. I was really shocked. But I'm just curious if we have contacted the schools and asked them about their capstone project as well, because there's a certain number of hours that they have to have. And the capstone program, I know that one of my sons, my first son didn't do it, but my second one did. And it was integrated with fish in the Elk River and stuff like that. But if this can also be integrated into that, that would be fantastic, right? So.
Yeah, behind the scenes, I've been in contact with both schools. They're all off right now and they're busy planning. So they've said, yes, we would love to speak with you, just not yet. In addition to that, I've met with the coordinator for the Fernie Youth Action Network and have plans within the Fernie Youth Action Network. There's actually a pretty strong collective of young women that meet monthly, and so I'll be going to speak about local government, what it means to work for local government. I have roped in Ms. Rhodes, our communications coordinator, to also go to talk about careers in communication, and one of the purposes of us going is to show this program, get feedback from them, how they can make it work to, say, support something else like that, as well as with the schools, can they meet volunteer hours by doing this position? Can they gain credit in some other way if they do a project that is local government based? So bringing the best experience they can have to the school.
That's awesome.
Excellent. Any other questions? I have a niggling little edit for the policy, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Under general policy 1A, the term of the position is from the time of appointment to the last day of school in June each year, determined by the school district. I would just drop district because our independent school does not report to the school district.
We can do that.
I look forward to the day when you're all working in this dresser. So, it was a bit cheeky.
Should be deciding about our senior house.
On that note, oh, sorry, Councillor.
Sorry, Mayor Mulligan, can I ask one more tiny question?
Yeah.
The $1,000 is in addition to the $3,000. It'll still be $3,000 plus we're going to add $1,000 for this position as scholarship money?
Yes, so the total would be $2,255. And the scholarship within the policy, we have also included some stipulations. So if we're allowing in this youth counselor program, you can be in grade 11 or grade 12. If the student is grade 11, they complete the program, we will hold on to that $1,000 for them until such time they give us proof of enrollment in a post-secondary. Same with a grade 12 student, and because some students like to take a year off between high school and post-secondary, we will also hold those funds for 1 year, should they wish to defer their studies by a year.
So follow up, just to clarify.
Yeah.
So the other $3,000 that we currently give out will remain unchanged?
Yes, at this time.
Thank you. Any other questions? With that, I'll ask Ms. McCollum to read the recommendation.
Certainly, there are two recommendations. The first one is that council repeal Youth Council Representative Policy number CP 2019-002.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor McIsaac. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.
And the second one is that council adopt Youth Councilor Program Policy number CP 2023-001.
Moved by Councillor McIsaac, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any further discussion?
Do we need to say with your amendment, Mayor Mulligan?
No,
It's a minor edit. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Daniel. Item 9.3, relocation of council meeting space. A report from our Director of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not going to speak much to the report directly, as some activity happened today, so I'm going to share the activity from today to talk about what we've done. So in my report, I specifically referenced the work that's been done to now and the reason for the work we've done. And since that time, I mean, obviously we've gone through a lot with the significant help of the Asset Management Department and Business Analyst Chown. We were able to retain a consultant with respect to the technology upgrades we required. Those have arrived. Our IT support has done significant work as well in upgrading the network over at the senior center. Our facilities team has done significant work in upgrading the wiring of the facilities to ensure that we've got all the wiring we need and capability there. The material has arrived, the technology has arrived, and it was set up and it was tested when it was arrived, and it's working lovely. So let me just show you on the next slide sort of what it looks like for your understanding. So the large TV on the back there is actually new, and it works very well. Just below it, you will see the, I don't know if you can, yeah, I guess you can. You will see that is the camera, which has some fantastic settings. And then the council table is set up with microphones. We each have microphones. Please note that the mayor can shut us all off at once with that simple button.
Perfect.
Podium for presentations. Well, that's
a bit autocratic.
I think that's the word, yeah. As well over, you'll see on the table on the left-hand side, you'll see some support team efforts. Today, we set this up. We set this up to test it out, to see what it looks like, to see how it works, and we clearly identified that there's a number of things for us to learn. In order for us to advance this particular project, we want to test this and test to make sure that we're operating correctly, because there are some things that will be different for all of us. So as much as we would love to be able to say September 12th is a day we would be comfortable with, after today we are saying we are not necessarily comfortable asking for that resolution today. What we'd like to set up is to have a couple meetings where we have the leadership and maybe leadership management team use that space, see what it looks like. As well, we're going to then run a meeting where other people are watching externally, so we can see what it looks like online. We did identify a specific issue, which if we don't find a way to correct it, our presence online could end up with a black screen sometimes. And that is clearly problematic. And we want to identify how that works. And we're finding there's some, it's possibly a software response, it might be a hardware-software combination response, but just something in order to enable us to not have that. And if we went on September 12th, there'd be a very good likelihood that we could succeed, but there's an equal likelihood that we could totally fail and it would look bad. But I want to show you the next picture as well. So this is kind of what the broader room looks like. I just took these this morning when we were testing it. And you can see we've got the public space set up, the support table set up, the director's table behind that. And council is by themselves in their space. And as I said, you've all got microphones. The beauty of it is your microphone is really, really solid. You can be, well, you don't have to speak into it directly. The other beauty of it, the microphone stand itself has speakers on it, so if you're having trouble hearing people, you'll hear it right in front of you. There's some really wonderful systems here, and there's, as long as people don't sign in with microphones when they sign into Zoom, there should be no feedback. So, as I say, what we'd like to do, my resolution in the report talks about September 12th, meeting September 12th. I'm asking instead for council to consider September 26th. The reason why we need a resolution, of course, is within the procedure bylaw. It identifies that council meetings will happen at City Hall. Obviously, that's not City Hall, so we need a resolution to move the meeting and then for us to do the proper notices. In the time between now and the September 26th meeting, we will also want to try and set up a test meeting with all of you, so that you have the opportunity to test it out and see what it looks like for you and to run through that. So that's the ask. I'm hoping council is accepting of that, but I wanted to show you all where we are and how much we've progressed. It really is, it's a very solid system, and I think we'll all be very happy. You'll see a few changes as well. For one thing, staff will not be sitting to present anymore. They'll all be going up to the podium. If you ask a staff member to speak to a matter, they'll be going up to the podium to speak.
Excuse me.
Thank you. So the intent being, of course, to use the technology we have. We've moved to where we are, where staff are sitting at the table and presenting, because we're all presenting to Zoom, not necessarily to the meeting. So, subject to any questions on that, I have that. It's my presentation, and I will stop sharing here.
Director Johnson, did you have your hand up?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to add to Director McConnell's comments regarding the technology, just a level of confidence. We have a great team. We're working directly with the vendor. We experienced some configuration challenges today while we were doing our initial testing with our team and testing on the various scenarios that we host meetings. And so we're going to be working through that, and we don't see them as large roadblocks, and primarily it's allowing space for us to test in time between to discuss the flow with corporate services, coordinating that for meetings, as well as key staff away during certain times during that period. So giving ourselves a bit of a buffer is a little bit more comfortable.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Councilor Hamilton.
Thank you. Looking at the photos that were shared, it appears that the camera's going to be behind all of us, and that half of us will have our backs to the public. Is that correct?
You will. Sorry. Go ahead.
So the intent is to, and we can show that when you're all present, the intent is to essentially support the meeting, right? So the setting up the meeting space and showing the meeting space is properly done, and you guys are able to have a proper meeting, a meeting that is available to be viewed by the public and to be taking part as may be allowed within the procedure by law. But the main camera is up there. For the council meeting itself, we will be asking you to, of course, be using computers, and so you could be logging into Zoom and having your camera on so the public can see your face that way. As for the back to your let's see, I'll share that part of,
It just needs to be winged.
We can do some work around that, of course, but as I said, I'm going to just share this and show what our goal is. Oops, sorry, I want to share that, I want to share that. So, if you take a look at this slide here, for instance, this section of public, we're trying to move them towards this, to that angle more than not. There will be a portion that potentially have their to your back. But if we need to change things around, we will do our best to do so.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor guys.
Thank you, Worship. I'm just curious if, there's quite a bit of money being invested in the infrastructure in that building. I'm just wondering if the benefits of that are going to accrue for the regular users of that building, or are the seniors, or is it strictly like firewalled off so that it's only technology that's benefiting council, or is the senior center actually going to have improved telecommunications and so on as well?
Ms. Jensen.
Yeah, Your Worship, through to Councilor McIsaac, we looked at that. We do have our own firewall over there, but the actual AV equipment is on a segregated network. We have access to the city network for staff to access files and presentations, but the equipment is segregated. And so certainly looking at opportunities, first our priority is to host our own meetings and get smooth with that, but certainly the location of that television, as an example, we actually removed the senior center, their television, it was end of life, and so working with them to make sure there's synergies so that assets are getting appropriate use and not just sitting there collecting dust while we're not having one of our 56 plus meetings here.
Thank you very much.
If I may,
Yeah,
Your Worship, just add to Mr. McConnell's comments about the angle of the camera in that space. So the intent of that camera and how it functions is it has presets, so it can zoom in with preset zooms for the podium, for example. So it does have that wide angle, and it is at your back. To stay on budget in this project, we did limit the scope of the technology initially. So initially there was a proposed second television and another camera that looked directly at council that would allow us to have presets in when you speak, but we've looked at just cost scaling and the opportunity to continue to use our Hollywood Square Zoom with your computers on. So we'll test that experience, how that's working for council and the community, and obviously reassess as we go.
Hollywood Square Zoom. And clearly,
Councilor Nixon.
Thank you, Richard. Any idea on times for setup and takedown for that room?
For the actual meetings, if I may, Your Worship,
Please.
I'm confident we're going to get faster as we go. So we set it up in such a way that there's a team setting up the furniture, and then the corporate services team and asset management team will start the setup of the technology. And today, one of those things that happened was that the facilities, electrician for facilities, he ensured that all the cabling was well tagged in such a way that we are able to just plug and play as we go. I'm anticipating that furniture setup and furniture takedown will be relatively quick. Technology setup and technology takedown, no estimates right now on time, but I anticipate that knowing the way the system is, we could probably get ourselves pretty quick. Ms. Jansen made an idea, but I'm thinking 20 minutes for the technology setup once we've got ourselves to a point. Right now, no, not 20 minutes.
Ms. Jensen.
Your Worship, I think at this time it's a bit premature to make an estimate. That said,
I would say an hour.
I'm thinking an hour,
20 minutes.
an hour right now.
that said, staff do arrive typically an hour to 45 minutes in advance of all council meetings. So we are there, and our facilities staff team will be supporting us with the furniture component. So really it's rolling out the technology, which is very well labeled, and there's very few things to plug in. They're all on rolling racks, and our journeyman electrician did an excellent job with building modifications to make that easy.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Councilor Audie,
Through your worship to, I'm not sure, Corporate Officer or Director Johnson, if we fail to make September 26th, is that an issue?
If I may, your worship.
Yeah, please.
No, we'll know by the September 12th date whether or not we'll be in a position to accommodate the September 26th date. With the way the technology was originally set up in all of the initial tests, we weren't anticipating to be asking for this date. But the reason why the September 12th date was the resolution. Today's experience certainly helped us understand what we're dealing with and ensuring that we are wanting to be well familiar with the project before we advance. But as I said, on September 12th, if we have any concerns, we can ask for a resolution at council at that time to amend this one. I don't want to make that request. So.
Thank you, Worship. I feel like I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it regardless. If we find we're in the situation, perhaps like we're the meeting, we've passed the resolution, we're at the meeting on September 26th, we have some catastrophic technological failure, will we be able to just pick up our laptops and come over here and reset up and carry on with the meeting, or will the resolution restrict our ability to just go to a new location because we've already said council meetings are now in the senior center?
It's a very good question. I'm going to ask to take that question back and respond. My main thinking right now is that we would probably have to reset as there's public notice requirements that would have to be met. Right. That's my initial thought. Having said that, the question becomes, are we in a position to record the meeting anyway? So the other part of that is, we're not having an electronic-based meeting anymore. We're having a meeting that we are broadcasting electronically. Right. If we have a meeting where we have almost like everybody on the council is present, and we are not going to lose a quorum situation, and we don't have any delegations or presentations that are going to come electronically, then we could potentially still have the meeting. So I want to consider that question specifically.
The second part to Mr. McCollum's answer just answered my question. It was essentially going to be, is that even relevant? Because we're all in the same place, staff, council, and public is able to attend in person as well. But I think the key there that I heard was being able to record it. It still needs to occur.
Thanks. Just while you're thinking about that, I think the bigger question is there any council procedure requirement to do broadcast of the meeting while it's happening? If not, then I think that answers my original question.
And if I may to follow up on that, any council procedure requirement to record it electronically?
And if I may, please, nothing off the top of my head that tells me that we have an obligation to have that. We have set up a service level expectation. And we have certainly tried to encourage that the technology we're using enables all of that. So I will certainly, and that's a question I've been asking as well, because I want to ensure that if we ever do run into that problem, that if it's a matter that needs to continue to advance, that we have it. Having said that, if we have a public hearing, then I would suggest to you that if we lose electronic attendance in a public hearing, what we've created and how we advertise that may affect that answer. So it may be a case-by-case basis that determines how we advance that particular question.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, my question was more along the lines, if we advertise that we're going to be there on the 26th and then we can't, more along the lines of Councillor McIsaac, just in case. Because I was also thinking, you will be away the week of the 18th.
The week prior.
The week prior, so we can't practice.
If there's an opportunity, thank you for the question, if there's an opportunity to practice potentially on the 12th, either before or after this meeting, it would be probably a good time because we're all together.
Or at least as many council members as possible, and so to ensure that we have.
Councilman Kaiser.
I apologize. But I'm pretty sure with the last time we went through the council procedure bylaw, there was some specific wording that was included in the procedure bylaw to ensure that councilors could zoom into the meeting. So if because of technological reasons we're not able to, is that's like Councilor Nixon is often some remote territory somewhere and says, I want to be at the meeting, I want to be present, I want to zoom in, and we're unable to accommodate that, what will happen in that particular situation? Apologize for picking on your councilor. Sorry, we're picking a lot of holes here, I apologize.
No, I totally appreciate it. The wording in the bylaw was specifically referenced in the entire setup is such that quorum has to be maintained.
If we can't make it for, in fact, we read it at the start of the meeting.
So it's a question like the one we read at the start of the meeting is all about the specified place, which won't be relevant anymore.
Fair.
But if you have electronic participation and that individual is attending electronically, but loses connection and we still have quorum, we're still able to have the meeting.
Okay.
And I believe, and I'm going to double check it again, but I believe our current bylaw specifically references that as well. It's ensuring that we have quorum.
Ms. Daniel.
Yeah, just while you guys have been talking, I've been able to pull up the bylaw. It says that council may attend, so it's not a guarantee. It's just providing the availability. Prior to this, we used to limit how many council members actually could attend electronically. It was a maximum of 1, and then we increased it to 2, and then the pandemic happened. So while it's an awesome opportunity, it's not a necessity to allow council members to attend electronically.
As I recall from our last meeting, we are reviewing the council procedure bylaw in the autumn at some point.
Exactly, we will be bringing that back fairly soon, as it's that time. Plus, we obviously have to make an amendment to the bylaw to enable us to have meetings over there without having to do a resolution.
Any other questions? One, from my perspective, having been over there today, I'm certainly sympathetic to pushing it out to the 26th. Not least of all, I don't want the staff that will required to participate in the setup to be frustrated, at the first outing. I'd like us to be, and for the public, to be as rock solid as possible in the first go around. So
much appreciated.
Certainly support that.
So, do you want me to do the resolution?
Yes, please, if you would.
Okay, I'm just making the notes, make sure I read it correctly. Council hold all meetings of council and committee of the whole commencing at the September 26th regular meeting of council and for the remainder of calendar year 2023 at 562 3rd Avenue, Fernie, BC, the Fernie Senior Citizens Society drop-in center location.
Moved by Councilor Schuster, seconded by Councilor Hamilton. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
We move on to item 9.4, a marina concession service provider agreement. A report from Mr. Logan, our Director of Parks and Recreation and Facilities.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm here today presenting on behalf of Manager Hill. I wanted to mention to council that there is a bit of a conflict of interest for me. My wife is the volunteer treasurer for the Elk Valley Dolphin Swim Club. So I wanted to make it clear that I wasn't part of the negotiations with the swim club or had no part in the development of the service provider agreement with the lawyer. So I'm purely just representing Ms. Hill on this subject, and I will be able to answer some questions. I'm privy to most things in the agreement.
Thank you for that.
So the recommendation today is that council approve the service provider agreement as attached. I thought it'd be helpful for the council just to go through a quick timeline of how we got here, because it did bridge between two councils. Starting back in June of 2019, the city released an RFP for concession services. We received no submissions. Fast forward to November 2021. We had received a proposal from the Elk Valley Dolphins, brought it in front of council. There was a few letters opposed, expressing concern about the loss of their fundraising opportunities as it was being sort of ran in limbo without a service provider in there offering concession services. So following the meeting in November 2021, the presentation, council directed staff to repost the RFP and include language that promoted use by community members and partnerships between them. That RFP closed on January 3rd of 2022, and we received no submissions. On March 14th of 2022, council directed staff to revisit the proposal by the Elk Valley Dolphin Swim Club. And then in September 20th of 2022, we received an updated proposal and work began negotiating that service provider agreement between the Elk Valley Dolphins and Massel, which brings us to today with the proposed agreement for council's approval. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Any questions from council?
One minor question. Is there a specific reason why we didn't go to RFP again before we accepted this proposal?
Mr. Logan?
Yes, through to your workup, to answer Councillor Hamilton's question. There's actually one period where we released an RFP missing from this report that I just realized as I was reading it. We have issued this RFP a total of at least 3 times, if not 4, and received no submissions. So we fulfill our due diligence for giving fair opportunity to everyone to apply or submit a proposal. Having not received none, it's acceptable to pursue this opportunity when it came up. So that's how we arrived, sort of where we're at today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Any other questions? I had one, Mr. Logan, and I apologize. And I might have missed it, but it was in the service agreement, and typically our service agreements have a clause about nothing in this agreement suggests that the people working in the concession, for example, are employees or contractors of the city, and that seemed to be missing in the service agreement, unless I missed it.
I believe it is in there. If you give me a moment, hopefully I can find it.
Please prove me wrong.
Okay, I'll try. Yeah, I believe it's in here. The city or its agents or employees shall not be liable for responsible in any way for injury, loss, damage, expense, or nature whatsoever, and due to the cause or reason may be suffered substantial by the service provider or any employee, agent, license, or invitee of the service provider or any other person who may be upon the arena concession, or for any loss or damage to any property belonging to the service provider or to its employees, agents, license, invitees, persons, or property are in the arena concession. That's 15A. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're talking about.
No, it's, and maybe it's not necessary, but typically in our service agreements, it does reference
an independent contractor type role.
Yeah, nothing in this agreement shall construe these people are employees of the city.
Right.
I can definitely, I can give that feedback back to the lawyer and they can make those changes to ensure that there is something in there. If it's not, I'll definitely go over this with a fine tooth comb and make sure that it's not in there before doing that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Logan. As I say, it may not be necessary. It's boilerplate that appears in all our other agreements, and therefore, particularly in this case, because there is a payment to the city, it's maybe not required in terms of their running the concession, but I just wanted to check.
Yes, this, if I may, Your Worship, this agreement was vetted quite a lot by our solicitor. What we'll do though is we'll take that specific request back from. I would say that in in many of our sort of our partnership agreements, the arrangement's a little different. This is almost like a straight up lease of the facility to them. So I'm not confident that it would be required in this case. If it was, but I understand you to be saying that we're confirming that the service provider is not an employee or an agent of the city, right? And such, in that respect, any payments by us to them would not require deductions or things like that. That would be more of an independent contractor style agreement, not necessarily this. So, but we will take that specific question to Mr. Fernie prior to.
Thank you. Yeah, I apologize if that's a bit overly sensitive, but it just, I noted its absence of whether this is maybe, as you say, maybe a completely different agreement, but if you could ask Mr. Fernie that.
Yeah, so I would, if I may, Your Worship, I'd like to ask Mr. Director Logan timing on this. Obviously, we want to adopt a resolution that would enable that to be added to the agreement.
Certainly, yeah. After my quick scan there, I do believe that it is not part of the agreement. So we could amend the recommendation to accept it with that one change. If Corporate Officer McConnell could change that.
Yeah, I'll try and come up with language.
Your worship, do we want to make the change, or do we want to approve it upon pending review from legal counsel? Because they may actually say it's not necessary.
Yeah, I think that's
Or subject to.
Yeah, subject to.
Yeah. Subject to review.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Logan, I don't want to hold this up either. I was just curious about that.
Can we also put something in there about fine mini donuts versus baking?
Here.
Sorry, I think I've got the wording that I can work with.
Are there any other questions before Mr. McConnell meets recommendation? Seeing that?
Okay, so it would be that council approve the Elk Valley Dolphins Swim Club Society Arena Concession Service Provider, the council approved the Elk Valley Dolphins Swim Club Society Arena Concession Service Provider Agreement and authorize the mayor and corporate officer to execute the agreement subject to review by legal counsel.
Moved by Councilor McIsaac, seconded by Councilor Shoesmith. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Logan. This brings us to item 9.5, Managed Print Services RFP. A report from our business analyst, Ms. Chow, who is knitting her brows consistently today, plugging in cables over at the seniors. It was impressive. Over to you, Ms. Chow. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. So tonight I want to present to you my staff report that I put together in terms of requesting a decision in regards to our managed print services agreement. So the purpose of this report is to inform council of the recent managed print services proposal that we released back in July, and we're seeking a decision on executing a managed print services agreement with the winning account. So just a little bit of background on our current management services. So as many of you know, our print equipment fleet has reached the end of life, as well as the service contract that provides maintenance and support for that. So in alignment with our purchasing policy, we went to market and requested proposals from qualified firms to provide provision and services, which would include the replacement of our end-of-life leased equipment. So we're specifically seeking services from a single external provider that help us optimize, manage, and implement replacement equipment, while also providing maintenance and support services. Through this RFP, we received 5 responses. So we have RM Office Solutions, Orgio, Rico, Beef Systems, as well as NextGen, our current provider. And we went through the evaluation process, and Seek Systems received the highest rank in the evaluation process. So as you can see, the scores are fairly close for Rico, Seek Systems, and NextGen. However, Seek did come to become the top proponent, just because they have a very, very detailed report that provided a detailed approach for ongoing print and fleet management support. And they provided information on the use of data-driven practices to assess and monitor our print fleet, as well as different opportunities to further leverage and integrate technology to increase efficiency, specifically addressing opportunities to leverage Microsoft 365, which we recently implemented in fall. They also had strong alignment with the city's asset management policy and strategic objectives, as well as a very detailed description of the tasks that need to be completed, as well as the deliverables to be able to fulfill the work requested. They also put together a very detailed step-by-step process for a seamless implementation that outlined appropriate timelines, training, resources, and support, and also outlined specific needs that the city as component with process. They also have a very good local support team that have significant experience in print services and provided good local references. And so in terms of some of the budgetary considerations, so as you can see in this table here, the proposed price ranges were fairly significant, so ranging from $85,000 all the way up to over $600,000 for the 5-year term. And in terms of our current operational budget for print services, over a 5-year term, currently is just about $160,000, while an annual average operational budget is almost $32,000. So Seek Systems was not the lowest bid. However, they did have the most detailed proposal with the most information. And so based off that, our recommendation is that council direct staff to execute an agreement with Seek Systems for managed print services with the Corporation of the City of Fernie.
Thank you, Ms. Chow. Your audio unfortunately is a bit choppy. We could follow along the slides. But thank you. Any questions? I'll ask Mr. McCall to the recommendation.
Certainly. The staff recommendation is that council directs staff to execute an agreement with Segway Systems for managed print services (MPS) with the Corporation of the City of Fernie for a 5-year term.
Moved by Councilor Gazik, seconded by Councilor Humphrey. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Chow. For the next item, we'll move into committee of the whole, and I'll ask Ms. McCall to read the recommendation.
I'm sorry, I didn't have the committee of the whole recommendation. I apologize.
I'm supporting you now.
Yes, thank you. The council enter into committee of the whole to discuss the Elko gravel pit economic analysis.
Can I have a mover? Councilor Humphrey, seconded by Councilor Nixon. Any discussion? All in favor? We are in committee of the whole. Ties come off.
I did actually have one question. I don't really understand why this needs to be in committee of the whole and not a regular meeting. I'm fine with it, I'm
just curious.
Yeah.
That's a fair question.
Yeah, with respect to this particular matter in the report prepared by Manager Salinger, unfortunately last week Manager Salinger wasn't able to be present for the meeting, and her report is timely. So it was prepared for committee of the whole meeting. It's a committee of the whole conversation. It allows council to have a committee of the whole style of conversation, less formal, to advance this particular request. With respect to this particular, again, report, which is Manager Salinger will have a report that will probably result in us going back into regular council to support the resolution, but it's primarily to have a matter that should have been discussed last week.
Thank you very much.
with that, Manager Salger, are you ready to go?
Sure.
Technical difficulties.
No
Just
problem.
setting up for success.
Technical opportunity.
I like that training.
You know, if I was having computer troubles and something called it that, I would probably get infuriated.
It does seem quite distinct from my attitude about technical opportunities earlier tonight.
It does.
Oh, I can't remember that line.
That's because it was me.
No problem.
I would pay money to see Ms. Jansen respond. This is just a technical opportunity. That's
Challenge accepted.
Fortunately, being committee of the whole, it's a bit looser.
Not that you guys have had many opportunities to not let loose when you want to.
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize before that I was playing Paul Lynn there.
Yes, it's a center square.
The center square, yeah, which was always the best square.
You always got the best laughs.
He always got the best laughs.
The other 70s television show references, of course, the Brady Bunch.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
The Brady Bunch squares.
I can't remember who was in the middle of the Brady Bunch.
The home.
Marshall.
Marge.
No,
Marshall.
Alice.
Alice. That's right.
She was the glue that held them all together.
This
Right.
4th page, if you're not going to be funny. Am I allowed to ask that at committee level?
Ask
Is it
what?
right now?
Like, not right this minute, but at some point though. I can't read 40 pages on that. I'm old.
Well, or some technical stuff, yeah.
Just need some reading glasses.
I have some.
That's why the Kelly, there will be a copy of the downstairs ready for you to review the decision.
Oh, thank you.
Are we ready? Okay, we'll wait for Councilor
Testing new
Schuster.
print people.
Thank you.
Okay, City of Fernie aggregate supply, overview, analysis, and recommendation. So we have, sorry, go to the next slide. We have 2 gravel pits currently, that's where aggregate comes from. And this is just the overview of what you'll hear from me today. So why do we care about aggregate supply? What's the background? What is our current status? Then we'll go over the analysis, what our plan is and the timeline, and then how this aligns with our strategic objectives. Okay, why do we care about aggregate supply? So we use aggregate for winter maintenance and operations. We use it for road base, for capital road projects. We use aggregate for bedding material for utilities. We also use gravel for shouldering and alley maintenance. Sorry, stay on that side. We also care about aggregate supply because it costs money. We saw some price fluctuations in 2019 where we weren't able to secure decent or the expected price of aggregate, and we ended up paying almost double. And then we also care because right now we pay the price that is set, so that has to do with supply and demand. Okay, our background. So in 2018, our license expired for the Alpha Gravel Pit. 2021, Athlone submitted a notice of work. This was basically a intent to use Alpha Gravel Pit.
Sorry, Ms. Salger, a notice of work on our behalf?
Yes.
Thank you.
So a notice of work on our behalf to Emily, which is the Energy Mines and Low Carbon Initiative Ministry. Then we received a technical review back on that notice of work. That's attachment 5 if you want to see it. It is 15 orders, and they're not short orders. So that led us to analyzing how to meet those orders, and we identified that we would need a geotechnical analysis as well as an economic analysis for you, council, to decide what to do next. Next, after identifying that we needed these analyses, we let Emily know kind of where we were going, and they kind of said, withdraw your notice of work or maintain your notice of work on client delay until April of 2023. So we withdrew the notice of work application in March based on their response. And then after budget was approved, we hired McElhaney to do that geotechnical and economic analysis. May of 2023, we got a surprise delinquent return notice for Ghost Rider Pit. So before May of this year, we didn't actually realize that we still had an active pit. So that was some fun investigation on our part. So moving to July of this year, we got the economic and geotechnical analysis back. And then we also tendered for the supply of winter sand in July, and it's since closed. Okay. Where we're at now, Emily is waiting on a decision from the city. We do have information on the grade of material in the Alco pit, as well as what our permitting and processing costs will be. As far as winter sand supply goes, the contract expired this year, so the previous contract was from 2020 to 2022, and we put out a tender for a contract for 23 to 25, or 2023 to 2025, and we received no bids. So this is just more for information that we will be sole sourcing that. And then looking forward, the Ghost Rider Pit current status, it is open, which means it has an active permit. It is not in operation, however, we do pay minimum royalties on it, $150 a year right now. There is no current information on the grade of material in that pit, and we don't really have information on what the processing would be, but you could kind of compare that to the alcohol processing costs if you did. Are there any questions at this point?
Just for clarity, Ghost Rider Pit is out by our settlement ponds, is that
Yes.
our wastewater facility? Thank you.
So that pit was actually open to construct our lagoons.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on. So here is the geotechnical analysis done by McElhaney. They did a very thorough job, so thank you to them for being quick and on time with the project. So based on these two statements, which I actually can't read from here, so. Based on the material gradations shown in the laboratory test reports, the aggregate encountered during the investigation is generally quite suitable for the use of road sand. Yay, that's good. Also, based on the gradations encountered during the investigation, McElhaney believes the aggregate could also be used to produce well-graded base. Above shows 4 of the 10 tests have greater than 30% gravel. Both good news. Any questions with the geotechnical analysis? Great. Okay. Okay, economical analysis. So these are kind of looking, I've summarized our options into about 6 points. We have the option to reclaim and close the pit. This cost is $20,000, $20,373 to be exact. there is a holding bond for $75,000 right now. If we were to close this Elko gravel pit, we would have to pay the price of the market. So I'm sure you all saw the report that, it does fluctuate. We don't really know what it might be, but in the analysis, McElhaney assumed inflation of 6% over 9 years for the amount of gravel available in the pit, the main pit. So that's 13,800 cubic meters. And then anything under our overburden, they also calculated that. So we would be looking at $65 per meter cube or $75 per meter cube. Any questions on those options? Or on?
Councillor Hammond.
I'm curious why buying more changes the per cubic meter cost.
May I?
Please.
Yeah. The second point has to do with removing overburden. So that's all the material that's underneath what is already there. So that's the cost. That's including that cost.
Thank you.
And is there additional life to this gravel pit beyond? Like, do we have an estimated mine life in this thing?
No.
No.
I don't.
Fair enough.
If we move on to the next slide, though.
And sorry, you don't have to go back to the slide, Ms. Jensen, but the 75,000 is in the hands of the ministry as bond.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think there were some assumptions made in the economic analysis on the amount to how much time it would take to produce. And I think that's where these numbers come from. So point 2, the permit to produce 13,800 cubic meters, that's over 9 years. So that's kind of the estimated lifetime. I think that sort of answers your question.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. So the second option, or the other options we have, is move forward with permitting and opening the pit, which is going to be my recommendation. Permitting is going to cost around $25,000. The price to produce our own gravel is, as you see, I don't want to read those long numbers, but they are on the slideshow. Point number 2 is the main pit volume. Point number 3 is the main pit volume as well as the material under our overburden. Questions?
Question kind of tangential a bit to this slide, but knowing where the Elko gravel pit is, when we tender for materials, where do those materials typically come from?
Our last contract was from Morrissey Aggregate, so I'm not sure where their pit is, but I'm going to assume.
It's in the area though?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Just past the ski.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so with that all said, what's the plan and what's the timeline? 2023 to 2024, my recommendation is that we undertake permitting for the Elko pit. Also in 2023, as I mentioned, we will be sole sourcing under sand, hopefully for a 3-year period as well to give us that confirmed secure price. The reason I'm recommending permitting right now is because permitting is a lengthy process. McElhaney is ready to undertake that process, so the implications as far as staffing is very low. Next, and you as council will see this in the future, 2024, right now our plan is to do a geotechnical investigation potentially of the Ghost Rider pit, and then 2025, we're hoping to have enough information to decide if we're going to produce and where we are going to do that. So, any questions with that?
Councilor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. So how long will the permit be taken? Are we going to be short of sand for this upcoming season since we didn't receive any proposals?
I'm not sure how long permitting will take. I think even our consultant doesn't really know. All they mentioned was it is a very lengthy process. As far as sand, we have engaged our contractor from the past 3-year contract, and they've been in communication with their streets, our assistant manager of streets and fleet. So they are interested. I'm not sure why they didn't bid on the tender, but our concern is low at this point based on their engagement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, how does this align with the corporate objectives? So future-proofing our community, as I spoke about, we have kind of some options for a 9-year plan or 13-year plan and our current status. Investing in our core infrastructure, roads, utilities, active transportation. We're hoping that by producing our own aggregate, we can lower our capital costs and help with those types of projects. And maintenance as well. So winter sanding, gravel road maintenance, that kind of thing. And lastly.
Sorry, Councilor Adams, you had a question?
Should you finish? Oh, thanks.
Thank you. By operating and supplying our own aggregate, we are creating long-term financial sustainability. I hope that you can see that by this presentation. Do you want to?
If I may now.
Yeah, please.
And I defer because part of it is around the long-term financial sustainability. My question, can you walk me through the operational aspects of the city owning an active mine? Who does the mining? Is that city staff? Is that contracted out? And what then, I fully appreciate the fact that us owning the source material is going to stabilize our finances long-term. But I'm just curious what the potential risk is longer term, either from a staffing or a contracting perspective for that.
So attachment number 1 kind of outlines our operational expenses, but that's a great question. So once permitting is complete, the plan would be to hire a crushing contractor. We would outline what grades we're expecting. So they would extract whatever material is there and sort it. We would have a consultant in doing grade testing and analyses to make sure that they're following the criteria we would outline in a scope of work. And probably hire a hauling company to bring some in, or we could haul it ourselves, depending on, again, that cost analysis. And we would just have it stockpiled at either the Ghost Rider or the Echo Pit, or whenever we need it.
Thank you. Councilor Smith.
Yeah, I'm kind of just curious, now that I'm thinking about the ins and outs of us owning something that falls under the Mines Act. Who, or, thinking of viability and the accountability, who would wind up being the mine manager under that scenario? Like, who would technically be?
I suspect you're looking at her.
Yeah. Like, I'm just curious as to how far up the chain that one runs.
That's a really great question. We've been operating under this mine before, so I'm not really sure who was designated as the mine manager at that point.
That's right.
I can clear that up. On the documentation, it was this role, the director of engineering at that time.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine.
So,
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna wait till the end, but I think I'll ask the question. Thank you, Worship. I'm kind of wondering about the long-term economics of this, and just thinking about, with all due respect to Mount Mulligan and their 6% inflation estimate year in, year out, what happens on an annual basis if, are we going to continue to go out and try to source sand annually on the chance that supply and demand will work in our favor and it becomes cheaper to purchase sand than to actually go out and mine it ourselves? I'm just thinking in those particular opportunities for those years, that would make it, reduce the economic burden, while at the same time lengthening the opportunity for the mine to continue, the gravel pit to continue operating. And I'm just wondering, assuming that we're going to do that, and I assume that we will, how does that affect our costs and the permitting and the ongoing basis? Like if we stop mining gravel for a year, do we end up coming back to this point and going through the whole process? Or once it's in operation working, I'll admit I don't know very much about this, which is why I'm asking. Once it's in operation, permits are in place, everybody's doing it, we can pause, restart later, is that all okay? Does that give us the flexibility to do our own mining as well as go out and source it if it's cheaper?
So I'm gonna answer in parts. I think I'm understanding your question. As far as sourcing, even if we have an active mine, we can absolutely do that. That would be, kind of a decision for the city. As far as our permitting, our permits usually stay in place for some time. I'm not sure as far as the notice of work, but generally you do one crush contract, and then you have the material sitting there, and then you don't need to apply for another notice of work.
Okay.
I'm not sure how long we had an open permit with the Elko pit. Are you aware?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. But our Ghost Rider pit is still open, and that's been open since the construction of the lagoons. So one could possibly assume that those mines stay open for a lengthy period of time. Those permits stay open for a lengthy period of time.
Because that's at least a decade since the lagoons were done, right? So, okay, excellent. I think that answers my question well. Thank you.
Councillor Schuster.
Oh, I just want to say that's an excellent question, Councillor McIsaac. We'd definitely be wearing we'd have a good bit of bargaining power.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as you said earlier, there is a maintenance fee to keep the permit open, so an annual fee to do that, even if you're not actively mining.
Yes, so we actually do pay royalties on the material extracted from each pit. Ghost Rider pit, we haven't removed anything from there. I don't know since when, but the minimum fee is $150 if you've extracted nothing from your pit. However, we do pay, I think it's in the report, 0.63, so 63 cents per meter cubed is, we pay that back to the ministry on what's been taken out of the pit. So we would have to keep track of that. Also, to Councillor McIsaac's question, although we could have a price for road sand or winter sand, that we are currently purchasing aggregate in other facets. So for capital projects, for road maintenance, for bedding material for utilities. So that would help with that cost as well.
Councillor Artie Kelly and then Councillor Nixon.
Through Mayor Milligan too. This might be a silly question, but our permitting would be for us to be a consumer of the product. We couldn't also be a vendor of it.
I think that's correct, but I'm not sure.
I'm just thinking if we have like a lot, maybe.
Sand for sale.
Sand for sale.
That's actually a great question. I'm not sure we would be limited in terms of what we do with it. We could likely sell it to a third party.
City of Fernie, cycling, skiing, sand.
Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. That was one of my questions as well about can we sell this to other communities in surrounding communities, but, and I just this is why do we need RDK approval for this, for the crushing? Is that?
I expect, in the permitting process, there will be a referral to the RDK. Through the permitting process.
Also, I know that we had issues with the freeze and the thaw of the sand in the city works yards here. We'll just keep it out there and is that an option?
Mr. Heisman?
I would suggest we make sure we have our 1,600 cubes in the city before we have to run out of town to get sand that may or may not be thawed.
In the middle of an ice storm.
Yeah.
That's not funny.
No.
Councilor Aitken?
To that end, great question, I was wondering about that too. If we had any consideration, if we save money doing this, could we look at structure to cover our sand within the city yards and make it easier, safer, easier to access?
Yeah, if I can jump in here, so we use 1,600 cubes a year as a volume that kind of gives us a generous buffer should we have a really nasty weather season. The idea here is try to get a 3-year contract in place to buy us time to get our permitting. Then we can be ready to put an RFP out to crush out 3 years worth of sand or 5 years worth of sand or whatever we see as economically viable. And then hauling in 1,600 or whatever our number is every year from that pit. What those realized savings could be, like the concern we have is up to 2019, we were paying in the ballpark of 55,000 for that 1,600 cubes. And then 2019, we paid double. So if we have to continue to have that big of a fluctuation in our staple for product for making the road safe in the winter, we would have to start budgeting for the higher number, $120,000 a year. So is it realized savings unless we're budgeting for that and always saving that money? Not, yes, no, kind of. But yeah, a shelter for the sand would save, we last winter tracked actually our operator hours and fighting the pile to like build a bit of a case for an economic analysis on that side. Unless we're budgeting that money and actually saving that money at 120 and always producing it for less, it's not really money available, but we would definitely support a structure to protect the sand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Next step.
So there's a couple actions, and I'm going to put into the chat and I'll read out loud what the actual recommendation is going to be for a halt, but I'll read it out loud. It's going to committee of the whole, and the council can decide if they want to advance that in regular session or not. So the resolution, which I'm sending, now it's in the chat, it's that council allocate an additional $25,000 from general capital reserve to the Elko gravel pit project for the required permits to reopen the Elko gravel pit. And if council's prepared to advance that, that would be the resolution we would ask council to consider on the rise report. So if you choose to rise report and go into back in regular session, that would be the resolution to approve the council.
And do we need a mover and seconder in order to do that, or is it a general conversation?
You can discuss and decide if you want to do that, advance that, and then if you choose to rise and report, you would need a mover and seconder to rise and report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to have one other piece of information before moving forward with this, and that is, I'd like to know what the impact on the general capital reserve is by taking $25,000 out. Are we still in good shape?
If I may, I believe that's actually in the report itself.
I apologize if I didn't see it.
The indication in the report, and Deputy Director Cook present as well, the projected ending balance of the reserve in the 2023 financial plan is $642,236.
Okay. Search for that.
It's on the third page.
Above conclusion.
Yes.
Oh, I just found it on 90. Thank you.
Okay, so that leaves us at 617,000 in the capital reserve for the end of the year. Because right now we're projected to have 642,000 in there for the end of the year, and then after this additional 25.
Thank you for the clarification.
Are you satisfied with that?
I am.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I don't have any other comment, I was just saying, I move that we rise and report.
Seconded by Councillor Audie Kelly. Any other discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous.
Okay. Would you like me to read the resolution item? I'll have to go back in front of you.
Still in the chat.
Yes, thankfully, thanks for the report though. That council allocate an additional $25,000 from general capital reserve to the Elko gravel pit project for the required permits to reopen the Elko gravel pit.
Moved by Councillor Audie Kelly, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, Manager Salinger. It was very informative. Item 10, correspondence. Any comments, questions? I didn't catch your eye. Seeing none. Item 11, reports from council. We'll start with Councillor Audie Kelly.
Thanks, Your Worship. Well, I was a volunteer and attendee at the Wapiti Music Festival, and I want to give a huge shout out to the organizers who really did a great job and responded magnificently to something that came up. It was really great, enjoyed it very much. I also was very fortunate to get a tour of the North End Court buildings. They are really very, very nice and are going to make lovely homes for folks in the community. So I wanted to commend the Housing Society for persevering through what were difficult COVID supply, labor, but they've turned out a really lovely product. The heat pumps, it's all like, environmentally sound. It's really, really nice. So I'm excited for that to be opening soon. And I'm hopeful that we can possibly support the Housing Society with some of their asks as part of our strategy to have affordable, attainable housing in the community. And that's all from me now.
Thank you. Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you, Worship. Nothing to report from me.
Councillor Hamilton.
Apart from Wapiti, it was another successful year. Nothing else, we had a lot of fun in it. I've got nothing else to report.
Thank you, Councillor Schuster.
Been a busy boy lately, but it's all stuff for another organization, so there'd be a conflict of interest if we're talking.
Fair enough.
I bet it's going to be a smash.
Councillor Nixon.
Thank you. Yes, I too volunteered at the Wapiti Music Festival, and I just want to say what a community. It's we did have some issues on festival organizers had some issues on Friday night, but I just have to say it's like you just rally and you have all these the RCMP that came in and Bill Arling and like Todd Patterson, all these people. I just I hate to name them, but. In a council report, but they just went above and beyond. We had guys yelling at us from beyond the fence, right, and saying, "Hey, you need some help," So it was like it was really interesting, and it's a great news story, right? It's a great news story. And people didn't riot like they did last year in Vancouver. They didn't, throw things over. Everybody just sat around and chilled and was good, and they were pretty happy. So, yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I would echo that, and I would, on the Friday night when the technical difficulties hit, it would turn into the world's largest kitchen party. A bunch of people standing around talking, getting caught up. It was actually a whole lot of fun. In fact, music started up, and I thought, well, we'll go home now. So I was super impressed, as I always am. And I did want to pass on kudos, and I'm not sure if it's Mr. Eisler, it's certainly your team who's responsible, but I've heard 2 reports from community partners about the water tour that you did, and they were super impressed, and they really wanted you to know that, and they wanted, they think it should, if it can be made available to other folks in the community so that people understand our systems and some of the challenges we face, but also some of they said the team was so knowledgeable. And these were separate reports on separate occasions, and folks were really, really impressed, so thank you for that. That was, it landed very well.
This is awesome.
If I'd like to give credit to Director Logan, that was his brainchild, and it worked out quite well. They got, the community partners got an expedited tour compared to what council got. 3.5 hour tour, it was good.
Well, thank you, Mr. Logan. That was quite a brainchild. It landed incredibly well with the community partners, so well done. And that's it for me. And so with that, I will ask for a resolution to close.
Certainly. The recommendation is that the meeting be closed to the public pursuant to section 90 sub 1 sub C of the community charter, as the subject matter being considered at this time relates to labor relations.
Mover, Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Shoesmith. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. We will go into close. Thank you those who joined us this evening, and we'll take a 10-minute break.